Hello students, let's discuss a multiple choice question on asset retirement obligation. An entity should recognize a liability for asset retirement when you have four answer options. When should a liability for asset retirement be recognized? You recognize a liability for asset retirement when an obligating event has occurred. If no obligating event has occurred, no need to recognize a liability for asset retirement. So you recognize a liability for asset retirement when the obligating event has occurred. You do not recognize the liability for asset retirement when the asset is acquired. You do not recognize the liability for asset retirement when payment for liability is made. You do not wait for the court order to recognize the liability for asset retirement. But when the obligating event has occurred, you recognize a liability for asset retirement. For example, you obtain a license to operate a nuclear facility. So you get a license to operate the nuclear facility. So you will operate the nuclear facility, and you also have a responsibility to decontaminate the facility. Now, when will you recognize the liability for asset retirement? When will you recognize your liability to decontaminate? You will recognize the liability to decontaminate, that is asset retirement obligation, not when you receive the license, no, but when contamination happens. When contamination happens, that is the time when you recognize the liability for asset retirement. You do not recognize when the asset is acquired. You do not recognize when payment for liability is made. You certainly do not wait for the court order to recognize the liability for asset retirement. All right, students, we'll connect again with another question. Goodbye.